He thought it would be just another quiet night, slipping into his own restaurant unnoticed, watching the place that carried his name. But before he could even take a seat, he froze. From the back, hidden behind the noise of laughter and clinking glasses, came the sound of someone quietly sobbing. A server, broken, humiliated, and silenced. In that moment, he realized this wasn't just about bad service or a rough night. What he was about to uncover revealed something far darker. What could drive an employee to tears in a place meant to represent pride and family? It was supposed to be routine. Vin Diesel, world-famous actor and beloved star, had a habit of checking on his restaurant without warning. He liked to see things as they really were, not a performance put on for the cameras or the boss, but the truth of what happened when no one thought he was watching. That night, he slipped in quietly, dressed simply, almost invisible among the guests who were laughing over dinners and clinking glasses. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. The warm glow of the lights, the hum of conversations, the smell of freshly cooked meals. This was his pride, a place built not just for food but for community. Yet something felt different, a faint unease that clung to the edges of the room. Staff moved quickly, but there was tension in their faces, a heaviness in their steps. Vin watched closely, curious. He had expected the usual: busy servers, happy guests, the rhythm of a thriving business. Instead, he noticed nervous glances, subtle exchanges, and the faintest sound carrying from the back, where no one was looking. What he didn't know yet was that behind the polished surface, one of his employees was fighting battles far deeper than the stress of a busy shift. And in just moments, he would come face to face with a truth he could no longer ignore. Vin settled into the corner of the restaurant, observing as he always did. But the sound he heard, those quiet sobs, pulled him from the comfort of the crowd. He slipped away from the dining room, following the muffled cries that seemed out of place in a place meant to bring joy. Each step down the hallway grew heavier, the laughter from the main room fading behind him. Behind the door leading to the staff area, Vin paused. There, hunched over near the storage shelves, was a young server, her apron crumpled in her hands, her shoulders shaking. She was trying to keep quiet, but the tears kept escaping. He froze, hidden by the shadows, not wanting to startle her. Instead, he listened. What he heard made his chest tighten. Through broken sobs, she muttered to herself, "Why do they treat me like this? I work twice as hard, but still they look at me like I don't belong here." Her words were heavy, carved from pain that went deeper than a single bad night. Vin realized this wasn't just exhaustion, it was discrimination. The kind that eats away silently, leaving scars no one sees. A few minutes later, another voice cut through, sharp, cold, and condescending. A manager stepped into the hallway, speaking in a tone that dripped with authority but carried no compassion. He berated her for being slow, for not smiling enough, for making customers uncomfortable. But beneath his words was something far uglier, a tone laced with prejudice, making her feel small, out of place, and unworthy. Vin clenched his fists in the shadows, fighting the urge to step in immediately. He wanted to explode, to stop the cruelty unfolding before him, but he stayed still, torn between anger and disbelief. This was his restaurant, his name above the door, his reputation tied to every action inside these walls. Yet here, right now, injustice was being served instead of respect. The server lowered her head, whispering an apology for mistakes she hadn't made, while the manager walked away with a dismissive sneer. Vin's heart pounded. He knew he couldn't remain silent any longer. What he was about to do would not just change her night, it could alter everything for everyone in this restaurant. But first, he had to decide, step into the light now, or watch the pain continue in his own house. Vin couldn't stand in the shadows any longer. With heavy steps, he moved forward, his presence filling the hallway. The young server froze, wiping her tears quickly, not realizing who stood before her. But the moment the manager turned and locked eyes with him, the entire atmosphere shifted. The casual arrogance vanished, replaced by shock. For a heartbeat, the room went silent. Vin's gaze fell on the trembling server, then back to the man who had reduced her to tears. He didn't need words to make his feelings clear. The disappointment, the fury, the disbelief radiated from him like fire. This wasn't just a boss catching an employee being cruel. This was a man discovering prejudice festering inside his own creation, poisoning the very place meant to be safe. The manager stammered, trying to excuse his behavior, but the damage was already done. The young woman's pain was written all over her face. The humiliation, the weight of being singled out and diminished, wasn't something words could erase. And Vin knew if this had happened once, it could have happened many times before, all without him knowing. For the first time, the tears in her eyes met the strength in his. She realized who stood before her, and her chest rose with a mix of shock and fragile hope. In that instant, Vin Diesel wasn't a celebrity or an owner, he was her witness, and he had the power to end the silence. The hallway felt smaller, the tension sharper, the truth unavoidable. This wasn't just about a single server. It was about the dignity of every person who walked through those doors. And with his next decision, Vin would show whether his name stood only for fame or for justice, because in that moment, doing nothing was no longer an option. The silence didn't last long. Vin made his choice, and it was immediate. The manager who had spoken with such cruelty was removed on the spot. No excuses, no second chances. The server, still shaking, was lifted from the shadows of humiliation and given something far more powerful than an apology: recognition, respect, and the promise that her pain would not be ignored again. But for Vin, it wasn't just about one decision in one hallway. That night changed him too. He realized that even in spaces built with good intentions, injustice could slip in quietly, hiding behind uniforms and polite smiles. Prejudice doesn't need a stage. It thrives in the unnoticed corners of everyday life. And if it could reach his own restaurant, it could be anywhere. The lesson was clear: silence is complicity. By stepping forward, he showed that leadership is more than ownership. It's accountability. His action didn't just protect one young woman, it sent a message to every single person in that restaurant. Dignity is not negotiable. But beyond Vin, this story echoes a truth that millions know too well. For every voice that gets heard, there are countless others still silenced by fear. For every act of justice, there are still far too many stories of discrimination that never make headlines. The question is, how many more people have to cry in silence before someone finally steps up? And more importantly, will we be the ones to act, or will we keep waiting for someone else to do it?